As a stylist, we have to understand that we ourselves are a personal brand in the business. And if you are drinking Starbucks every day and you're putting it in your Instagram and you're using this shampoo and like people start following along. People enjoy watching you.
Yeah. Welcome back, my friends, to the Successful Stylist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Ambrosia Carey. Today, we get to have a fellow salon owner, but you're going to want to tune into this one. Bust out your notebook or at least push pause so that you can listen to the rest of this, because we're going to give you lots and lots of notes. This is a very, very different way of doing business. And I am excited, probably just as much as you are, to hear more about this. So I actually was listening in on a previous podcast, actually, but what really perked my mind, or the curiosity behind this, is because I started following this guy, and you guys probably have been seeing him pop up a little bit more. Just seeing the journey of how he has actually been running his business and operating as a fellow salon owner, but doing it in a very, very different way. So I'm really excited to bring Nick Marabella in here and just kind of hear a little bit more about how you transitioned. But first, I want to hear a little bit about how you got started in your journey, Nick, because I'm very curious about your background.
Thanks for having me on. All right, so my journey in hair. My sister was doing hair. I was in high school and she was killing it. She was making great money. And I went to visit her at the salon, and like all the guys were like decked out, great clothes. The girls had great clothes. I always liked salons. And then it was either like hair school or the Marine Corps. Those were my two choices in high school. I wasn't a good student at all. So I picked hair school. Then I dropped out the first time, went back, and then I was just good. I was really good at hair. Like the caveat was being around like 40 girls in hair school. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I really happened to be good at color specifically. Then 9/11 happened and I wound up going to the Marine Corps, came back out, and I just on and off again with hair. And then when I got fully back into it again, I had a couple of failed businesses that I tried, and I actually wound up getting arrested. And so I had to get rid of all my friends. Long story short, it was a wild story. Some kid got delivered pot and it was 11 pounds of weed. Everything got dismissed. So it was like, just got rid of all those people in my life. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what am I doing? Like I have this gift of hair. Like I really can do hair really well. And so I got back into it again. And so as I got into it, I learned some things in my past, like trying to get business off the ground about e-commerce and websites. So then once I had my salon, I started selling products online. Long story short, that became somewhat successful after getting my ass kicked several times trying to get that business figured out. My current business now is still salons, but the PMA model, so the private membership association model. And a lot of people have no idea what that is, but everybody has heard of it or seen it, but they just don't realize it. And it was brought to my attention during the whole COVID shutdown. One of the gyms nearby shut his business down for 24 hours and reopened again as a private membership association. Now, if you're familiar with the South at all, there's a lot of dry counties in the South, but there's still bars in these dry counties. And so the way they're able to do that is they become private membership associations. So they function in the private domain. Once I learned this, I was like, hey, if it works for a bar and I'm an American, we have a constitution, it should work for any business. So I opened up the first private membership association hair salon in New Jersey. And now I have one in Florida. And the way it works is this. Under the First Amendment of the Constitution, you have the right to peacefully assemble. Under the 14th, you have the right to private contract. Now, when members come in my salon, they sign a membership agreement. I have signs posted on the outside and the inside that we're not open to the public. I make that very clear to the state board that we don't serve the public because that's who they protect. They protect the public. I protect my private members. And so everyone joins our membership, and their membership dues are calculated at the end of the service, and they can come in there for any kind of activities. We do self-development workshops. We do any kind of hair lessons, hair classes. We do a lot of stuff in my salons outside of just hair, which makes us like a private membership association. And a lot of people are confused at that because they feel like, like in the beginning, we started talking, well, how do you do that? Who do you ask? You don't ask anybody. If you're born in this country, you're an American, you have something called the Constitution. And a lot of people don't understand really what's involved in our Constitution because we stopped teaching civics in school. And so everyone knows what's going on because during that whole shutdown where I learned about this, we had all like we had everyone peacefully assembling outside, if you could recall back in 2019 and 20, and they were protected by the Constitution. So anything you do, as long as you're not causing any substantial harm or evil to your members, is protected by the Constitution, the 14th and the First Amendment of the Constitution. And there's other amendments too that tie in here, but those are your two main ones. I'm not like a full-blown expert at it, to be honest with you. I did a lot of research.
Yeah.
A couple of organizations out there who will draft your formation papers. I don't draft formation papers. I probably could, but I leave that to those guys. So I still have my own formation papers. I drafted my new ones for Florida. And to be honest with you, it's nice. The state board came to try and inspect my salon. I told them they weren't allowed to, and they didn't really understand it. And it's not like I want to be some crazy conspiracy theorist rebel. It's just the fact of we were never protected by them. They wanted to ruin our businesses and shut them down. They don't even really do a thorough inspection of your salon anyway, so they're really not keeping the public safe. They're actually giving licenses out to people in New Jersey without giving them an exam. They just issue to them like through email. So what are they really doing?
Right.
You know, I'm better off protecting my members than the state board is. So, you know, we don't serve the public, and that's where the line is drawn. So, Division of Consumer Affairs, I believe that's most of the names in a lot of states, has the right to protect the public. And all the Board of Cosmetologies, that's their main job, is to protect the public for hair salons. And if you're not open to the public, which we're not, they have no jurisdiction in any of my salons. And it's been quite the journey. Like I had to talk to the Attorney General, talk to a bunch of people. This after I formed, I sent everybody a letter. So I sent the letter to the governor, lieutenant governor, Attorney General, all the police departments, all the fire departments in my area. No one responded except for the cops. They came here and just wanted to see what the hell we were talking about. I think they were just bored, to be honest with you. And then, then we opened, and the state board wanted to come in and inspect. I was like, thanks, but no thanks. And so they threatened to fine me. It's like $10,000 a day or something ridiculous. And they said I couldn't do it. And I asked the woman, I'm like, are you familiar with the Constitution? She said she was. I'm like, apparently you're not. I'm like, we're not open to the public. And I did the whole spiel I just gave you. Then I sent them a really nice articulated letter explaining to them, you know, how this whole thing works, Supreme Court rulings that ruled in favor of PMAs. And now I function in the private domain. So podcast is over. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you later.
I know. The more you talk about, the more questions it just raises. I'm sure. I mean, you said it in the very beginning. You're the one who framed this. You said it yourself. Like, who is it that you go to? Like, is there a specific attorney that you went to help you draft up these forms to begin with?
I went to David Jose. He's not online somewhere. The thing is this: a lot of these guys who do PMAs aren't truly familiar with the non-statutory compliant laws. And what I mean by that is statutory compliant means you're compliant to what the state and county and government tells you can do. And non-statutory compliant is I'm an American citizen and here's my constitution and I'm compliant to nobody but myself and my private association. So in your articles of formation, just like you would like an LLC, if you guys are incorporated, you have your own articles of formation. And they can't have any kind of statutory compliant verbiage in there, because if you do have to go to court, and which I have no problem going to, like, this court doesn't scare me. Judges don't scare me. Lawyers don't scare me. Like, they're here to protect the public and the people. And there's this whole like facade of like this higher power of human being. And in this country, it's the people who have the power, not the police officers or the judges or anyone else. And somehow these government officials have that flipped. And I just wanted to reflip it back again and say, no, I want to function in the private. So your verbiage will invite them in if it's not structured properly. So it's important that you get somebody who's really knowledgeable if you try and go this route with the private membership association. And there's private health associations, there's private education associations. And I use that PEA, Private Education Association, in my letter I wrote to the state board, because there was a daycare center that shut down during the whole pandemic, and she reopened as a private education association. And she was able to watch the kids. The kids could be free with no masks. They could go outside and function. Parents had the chance to put their kids in a learning environment that was safe. Like, she kept complete safety for all the children. But the state board wanted to sue her and shut her business down. And they couldn't because she was private. And so once I learned that, then it was like I started arming myself with the information of all these different things that happened throughout time. All these Supreme Court rulings. And believe it or not, because you brought up like lawyers and stuff like that. The bar, New Jersey Bar for Lawyers, is also a PMA, from what I
Oh,
understand.
interesting.
So it's like the
Huh.
people who are protecting the law, like lawyers, and help, go to court and do all that stuff. They're also PMAs. And I was
Hmm.
told that and make that information up. So if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments of this podcast. But I've been saying that a lot. So I'm fairly confident in that information is correct. I'm not a lawyer. I barely graduated high school. So
That's
a lot,
okay. You're
yeah,
no, you
a
know
lot
the
of,
audience that you're speaking to, even though you had like completely bipolar options as far as like what career path you wanted to go. I love how you just had like this really like the masculine side of your life that you could have
yeah,
explored, or the feminine part of your life, and you kind of did
yeah,
both. So it's really fascinating. And this PMA thing, I think it's just scratching the surface, just like really understanding and getting our minds around it, because it's just a different way of doing business. It sounds like just less red tape involved.
yeah,
Oh, can you tell a little bit about how transactions work? Because you were saying
yeah.
something about members. How does that work exactly?
Yeah. So all my members, they pay a membership due at the end of the service. And that's just for using the space. And then like you could break it down to highlights and you could break down the haircuts and stuff like that, but it's just a membership due is how I want to word it. Because that's what they're paying the user facility. When you The thing is this, a lot of people want it to be an avoidance of tax. Technically, membership dues isn't a taxable income surcharge or transaction. So
Mhm.
it gets very gray when you try and use this method to avoid any kind of taxation, which that's another 4 hour podcast I'll get involved with. But my transactions happen just like that. I would do your hair. Let's say, Cindy, highlights are 300 today. I do a parts and labor charge, colors 20, and the haircut's 75. So it's, 415, whatever. I'm not going to do the math right now. And you just put it on your credit card and you walk out. And that's the way it goes. Now, when it comes to your staff, I don't have staff either. I only have members. So I don't have to be subject to any kind of like weird payroll tax that they want to inflict on business owners and really try and squeeze them as dry as they can.
Right.
They're all members. So I give them the money that they deserve from their membership dues that got acquired from the help they gave inside of our membership, inside of our building. And that's it. They have the ability to form their own LLC. They have their own level of deductions. They can get their own health insurance. They can do anything they want. That's why I really built a different kind of commission structure. I start at 50 and I cap at 70% commission. And I give people the ability to truly be their own business inside of my business. And I want them to be empowered, not to ever feel the need to leave because they hit a glass ceiling. And I
Mhm.
felt like at 70% was a win-win for both of us at a certain threshold of finances. And so I give them the power to be as successful as they can inside of a PMA. Now, in most salons, I'm not sure what states have what laws, but in New Jersey, you can't share rent in a salon. Every single member of or every single employee of a salon needs to be a W-2 employee. And now you're got to cover like the insurance and the payroll tax and the this and the that. And at the end
Right.
of the day, most salon owners who are watching know that you're working on the 8 to 12% profit margin, at best 12%. If
Yep.
you're running like a really efficient salon in terms of, you know, the manager, your rent's a little more on the medium to high side, you have your assistant, you have everything in place to run it like a real business. That's your
Mhm.
profit margin. So if you don't work behind the chair and do hair and you have $1 million salon, that's like 120 a year. For all that work, it's really not that much profit.
Right.
And so for owners, they're kind of stuck behind the chair. Now, what this does is it frees up the ability for you to now have a team of little mini companies inside of your business. And so that extra 12 to 13% you're paying in payroll tax gets put back in the company again. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, so don't take my legal advice
Right.
by any means. Do your own research. But you can definitely hire an independent contractor in your PMA without a doubt. And if you wanted to 1099, you could. Even in your regular salon, you could hire an independent LLC and 1099 them as well. You can't do a person or a sole proprietor, but majority of the states that you can't have chair rentals in, you can do this LLC, and then you can be educators of the salon, or you can work whatever you need to work out in your business. So that's how I handle my transactions in the salon. I do it through Fresh as my booking software, and we just handle credit cards. And I mean, you want to pay me in silver or gold, you can do that too, probably. But I
Well,
don't
these
really
days
care.
are probably a little bit more valuable.
Yeah.
So tell me about how like taxes and dividends and well, we'll start there.
Yeah.
Like taxes
So
and dividends, how do those work out for the business?
so I keep all the money it's very complex because I have my online store as well. And so I'm in the middle of separating each one of my salons individually. For the last 2 years, it was all one big, huge company. And it just was a nightmare for my accountant or my bookkeeper. If she's watching this, she hates me. She messages me every day because I have PayPal. I get Amazon Pay because I take everything and everything's run through Shopify. And then I have multiple online stores for other businesses, but let's not digress. The way I handle the taxes is I literally just 1099 my employees and the rest of the funds stays in the PMA. So I technically only 1099 because it's membership. The members PMA can gift them their money and it's up to them to handle it. So I just keep the money in the business and whatever withdrawals we need to make, we make. It's a very different business structure. And to be honest with you, it may not be the most sound, but this is how I operate it. And I've sent letters to the IRS before and I've asked for information. And I give them information on what I'm doing and I don't really hear back. So if there ever comes a time that I'm not doing anything right, I have everything documented and we'll just run it up the court if we have to. But
And
I
that's
would,
one of the reasons why, like, I like talking about this with you
yeah,
because it is such a new concept in our industry or an unknown concept for that matter. And even regardless of you guys listening, if this is something that piques your curiosity more, and I'm sure Nick can help you more with that,
yeah,
but it's just another way of being able to look at your business and really just not sticking within the confinements of the way that we've been taught that structurally it needs to be. So, I mean, the only way you can make different options is to know your options or make different choices.
you're right. The thing about this country is so amazing. It's a free country. And what happened in the last, like, especially the last 5 years, but especially the last 20, there's been so many regulations on every single business, especially small businesses. And if you look at the small business landscape, we're the ones who get destroyed. We were shut down. We have the most amount of payroll tax we have to pay. We get the least amount of deductions. And if you look at the big corporations, they made hundreds of billions of dollars while we were stuck with no money. We were being gifted peanuts from the government, and
Right.
we had to be compliant and stay shut down while our family suffered. The amount of suicide, addiction, and everything that happened to small businesses, that didn't happen to these big corporations. And the fact
Yeah.
that everyone sat here and just sat around was like, I guess I got to shut down. This is America. Like you create the rules for yourself. Like we didn't form this country in this amazing document called the Constitution. So you ask for permission to cut hair. Like I understand there has to be regulation to keep the public safe. Then don't function in the public. Don't be a dirtbag and keep your salon clean if you're going to be private. So every single person in my salon who is a member can leave whenever they want. If you
I
if, it's not,
see.
if you don't feel safe, then get out. That's cool.
Right.
But it's up to my job to keep my business clean and safe. Like any business owner out there right now, if you run your business and the only time you clean your salon is when you think an inspection is going to happen, you shouldn't be in business. Right? If you like, those are just loose guidelines. You should have a higher standard for yourself. And that's,
Right.
what the PMA is all about. And you can do anything with the PMA. You can be a chiropractor and have like a private health association. You don't need to worry about any of the insurance companies, any of the bullshit regulations and recertifying yourself. You can do anything you want. And like one of the things is permanent makeup. We have permanent makeup. It's not allowed in salons in New Jersey. Like they put
Hmm.
this big rules for no reason. Like the person making the rules doesn't even work in a salon.
Right. Yeah.
And the
I
state
didn't
board
even know that
inspector
it's not allowed.
and the state board inspector doesn't cut hair. Like they don't do hair. I would say
Right.
90% of these state board inspectors don't do hair. And if they did, they would do hair. They wouldn't be inspecting salons. So when
Yeah.
it comes to like freedom and truly having a business, that's why you started a business so you can be free. And most of the times we get into business, we realize we're not free anymore. We just created a really more intense job for ourselves.
Right.
When you have,
Exactly.
yeah,
A
yeah,
cog in the system.
you got to learn how to be a business owner, not just a business operator. And
Right.
I don't really sit back and take anything at face value. So once we got told we had to shut down, I was cool for 2 weeks, like 2 weeks to slow the spread. And that's what spawned this whole entire PMA investigation for myself. And the more I looked into it, the more it seemed like the way we should operate.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think a person should come into my business and tell me that I need to run it a certain way. I need to put cabinets on my or doors on my cabinets so I'm inconvenienced when I want to grab a towel. I don't know
Oh,
what that
sure.
does. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like there's stupid things like that.
Yeah.
Like what is that what you're getting from this? And like I don't know. That's why how I was brought up to. I always questioned everything. And we
Yeah.
don't learn civics in school anymore. we don't learn anything about what our
There's a lot
constitution.
of things we don't learn anymore in
Yeah.
school.
But this is a hair podcast. And it's like,
Yeah.
when has hair school evolved? The state board set. Like I get you need certain kind of dexterity in your fingers. I don't know if you guys do that in Oregon. You have to do like it's four rollers up top, perm rods down the back, and like pin curls and finger waves. That's our state
Yes.
board set on the mannequin head.
Yeah.
But they don't teach like practical things for today. I get it.
Right.
That's cool. If you want them to do that one time and get dexterity, that's cool. But why not have like some kind of foiling, some kind of color theory, some kind of correct, like something to make them truly prepared for dealing with people out in the public when they come out of hair school. And I don't
Yeah.
think the majority of people are ready for their career when they step out of hair school. I think it's
I
just to
agree.
kind of push them along. Where you
I
have a salon
agree.
out there in Oregon?
Yeah, yeah. I have a salon here. Where it's hybrid, so
Okay.
three independent contractors. Everyone else is a
Commission.
employee,
Okay.
and so we do an apprentice program, and it takes about 10 months to a year to get all the way through it. And what I'm running into right now is most of those who are graduating from beauty school, they aren't particularly qualified yet. As a matter of fact, the last gal that we had come in, she hadn't once done a foil on anybody from beauty school. She
Wow.
graduated all the way through and had never done a foil. And granted, I mean, that's what I'm there to do, is help her learn that and teach her those things. But it's really disappointing to hear what's happening in beauty school right now. I think, when funds were cut way back, instead of having three instructors, you're down to one. And if that one calls in sick, then they just give them a series of YouTube videos to watch. And like, that's not what they're paying for. So
No.
it is really disappointing to hear that that is happening. And I really hope that there is a different solution and regulation that can kind of happen inside of those walls. But
Yeah.
as it turns out right now, I mean, those who are entering into these salons, from coming from a salon owner standpoint, we just want to know, where's our starting point? What do we need to do in order to unlearn this bad behavior that you started with, or what's our basic foundation that we're starting from? And that
Non-existent.
part, it seems
Yeah.
as though it's really gone
Yeah.
downhill. So and I think that's the reason why so many training programs have become so prevalent. I mean, there are some states even that are talking about completely removing some of that, or even just lowering their hours. I know that California just changed their hours where you can have the option to only do cutting and coloring. There's like a specific license that was built for that, where you're literally 1,000
Yeah.
hours and then you're just like, here you go, here's your certificate. So we do need to reword or
Yeah.
reframe the way that we're running our business to be able to adapt to the constant changes that are happening around us. And that much is true. But I think just going back into this PMA, the structure, I'm curious, like, how does it work? Is everyone a shareholder, or you said member? Is
The
that
members.
different than a
Yeah.
shareholder?
So
Okay.
yeah, it's completely different than Cheryl. It's like think of if you had think of a gym actually. They're members. They can go
Sure.
there, they can work out there, they can do what they want there. So they can come here, they can do hair out of here. I have
Yeah.
service giving members, I have service receiving members. But I could do events like Daddy Daughter's Day. So if in a traditional salon setting, if the father isn't licensed, he can't work on his daughter's hair because he's not a licensed stylist in that state. But in my PMA, I could run an event like a Daddy Daughter Day, and I could teach him how to braid his daughter's hair, how to pull it back. We could do fun activities like that. And so my members, service giving or service receiving, that's the only way it breaks down. Now, what I'm going to try and do soon is I'm implementing like an ESOP program, so like an employment stock option program, where certain amount of money percentage wise goes into a pool
Mm-hmm.
for my service giving members. And that would be a certain amount of money coming from my online store, from my affiliate program, and then from my salons itself. And so that goes into a little pool, much like Publix does in Florida. If you heard of that food store franchise, where
Mm-hmm.
the employees are actually the majority shareholders in the company.
Right.
Very similar to that, to the point where their membership affiliation in the salon, as time goes on, they have more of a vested interest. They'll get a little financial interest as well. But I really have to
Cool.
figure that out, outline it, because I want everything to live in a trust too. So I want to have
Okay.
like a well-designed trust that owns all of the PMAs and owns all of the online stores and all the other real estate, everything like that. So that trust lives within itself, and then they get dividends from that trust. Is
Oh,
how
that's fascinating.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And so it's
Okay,
completely
so
protected. So
What about challenges? Like we haven't really talked about any challenges yet. Like during this process, as you've been learning, developing, growing, it sounds like you're really starting to expand as well. Have you faced any challenges yet in developing this process, or just anything that you've run into in the meantime?
State board trying to shut me down, just telling me I couldn't
Okay,
operate the salon. Yeah.
just okay, got it.
I literally just like, I called them right away. I have no problem with confrontation. And I was like, listen, let's talk. I'm like, and I had the word for the rest, sent my letter into them. That was really it. Honestly, it's been fairly easy. The only time I had any issues was when I was shut down and we were going to open as a public hair salon. And the governor threatened to shut us down. And then the cops showed up. It was stupid. And then that's when I
Okay.
really just, yeah. But other than that, I mean, no one really cares. My clients love it. You know, it's a little weird at first. I don't drink anymore. You know, I stopped drinking about a year ago, but I have a full bar. I have bourbon. I have wine. I'm all bringing a whole thing of non-alcoholic refreshments too. But if they want to have a beer or like a glass of wine after work, I don't have to worry about ABC. But a lot of times you don't have to worry about that anyway when you're giving it away.
Right.
I mean, I can honestly say, knock on wood, it's been like a really great experience. And maybe I'll have to face the attack of like government or state once if we ever have a shutdown again. I don't think we will. And
I hope
like,
not.
actually, no, I have faced something. My distributors. So Salon Centric, I'll call them out specifically. They're probably the biggest pain in the ass distributor because they want a license in order to do business with you. So I have a bunch of personal licenses from all my members. And so that's the only distributor. Like I have 30 different licenses that I'm associated with from salons around the US. So I always get the products I need. But that's the only distributor that gave me a problem with acquiring products. And to be
Oh,
honest with you,
interesting.
yeah, because I do so much retail,
Uh-huh.
I don't think they fully understand why. Because I was buying it on my personal license, and I did quite a bit of my revenue was mostly retail. It wasn't services, by the way, because of my e-commerce store. And it's official. It's not diversion. It's on my own website. You can book an appointment, read a blog, and they didn't understand how I was selling so much product. And so they just
Oh,
put
okay.
it to me because I was probably competing with their hair.com and their Amazon store. So the only
Yeah.
issue I really had was with distributors. That was it. That one distributor.
Do you mind talking a little bit about how your ecom business has been able to grow so much? Because that is something that I think there's a lot of stylists, especially like maybe in my age range, where it feels so foreign, and a lot of people are not really excited or sure about like mixing between doing stuff in salon versus doing ecom or digital sales.
Yeah.
So how did that how
I'll
did that
jump into that.
happen?
I tried to start a website called Buddha Sport years ago. It was an action sports website. Again, I'm so spectrum, like
Yeah, you
MMA
are.
and then like hair.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't monetize it. I learned all about affiliate marketing. I learned all about web development. Like I got screwed up my first website, cost me 11 grand, didn't work. So the next one was 7,000. I spent tens of thousands of dollars, was not functioning. Bought a book in HTML, learned how to code a website. And so I just coded my first website. I had some help from the guy in the Philippines that was helping me out. And that's when I got introduced to the virtual assistants. But then I just couldn't really get that off the ground. And when I got back into hair again, clients were buying hair products on Amazon instead of buying
Mhm.
from my shelf. I was like, if I could fill the gap for them and be like, hey, you
Yeah.
can get it from me online. I could send it to you. You could do recurrent shipping and I could create blogs and all this content. And I figure I can monetize the traffic to get people walking in my door by selling products to people who couldn't walk in my door. And what I mean by that is if I create a blog and I push that out through my local community, either Facebook, social media, whatever platform I want, there's people who are going to be able to access that via the internet. And if they live in Indiana, they can't physically walk into my salon and get their haircut, but I can sell them the shampoo I talked about. I could sell them the brush or the blow dryer. So I was able to monetize my salon. I went from like, when I took it over, they were doing barely like 200,000 a year. I took them to 800 the first year and we broke a million the second year. And that was all strictly off of, you know, Google and Facebook marketing. Now, when it came to the e-commerce side of things, you're not trading your time for money anymore. So here's the deal. If you're going to create content on Instagram and you're going to recommend a shampoo or a blow dryer, why not throw a link in there that's connected to you somehow that you get credit on? So I have an affiliate program for any stylist or any person really that wants to market and sell products through their content, and they'll get anywhere from a 10 to 20% commission on the brand, on that product. Now, if you're a salon and you don't feel like selling online, I extend that to you as well, where you get 10% as the owner and your team will get 10% as well, each one of your stylists. So I created a really unique affiliate program based on what I learned from a failed business back in the day. As a stylist, we have to understand that we ourselves are a personal brand in the business. And if you are drinking Starbucks every day and you're putting it in your Instagram and you're using this shampoo and like people start following along. People enjoy watching you.
Yeah.
So if you were to
Hmm.
switch to your friend down the street who has a coffee shop and get coffee from there, and you could form a deal with him where you guys, I don't know, trade off on blowouts, coffee, whatever the thing is. You can start bringing him clientele to the coffee shop. He can start sending people your way. You need to start thinking outside the box. You're a personal brand. Why not make money off everything you do? Kylie Jenner never did makeup. She's a billionaire because of makeup. The
True.
Rock,
Yeah.
The Rock was never a bartender. The motherfucker made $1 billion on tequila. Like you
Yeah.
guys, like it's just a smaller scale. So what? You start talking about products. You're gaining your clients' trust. You're linking to like whatever website you want to link to, and I'll do the math for you. Let's say you have a really big social media following. Let's say you have 100,000 people on social media. Okay, there's 100,000 backwards, but
Hmm.
and let's say 1% of your followers buy a shampoo, and let's say your commission on that shampoo is $4. So you did one video, 1% bought it. That video that you were never getting paid for, you made 4 grand off of. Now you multiply that times daily content. And let's say that happens 3 times a month for you. That's $12,000 times 12. So you're looking at $260,000 a year off affiliate marketing from stuff you're doing already. Plus you're making money behind the chair. Now you throw an education business on top of that, where you're getting recurring revenue from teaching people how to do what you do behind the chair. You're making $500,000 a year. But you guys are sitting here stuck like you just cut hair. You're trading your
Right.
time for money. You
Hmm.
are a business. You are a brand. That's what I do in my coaching program. I teach people how to stop trading their time for money so they can actually start gaining, like, becoming a real business and gaining real money. There's girls I know that do extensions. These girls make $14,000 a week behind the chair.
Yes.
Like it's
Yeah.
wild to me.
I
Like
know.
I'm like, what? And that may include the hair too, but they're crushing it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a doctors that don't make that kind of money. And for you guys to
Exactly.
have such a fixed mindset that, oh, I couldn't go to college and went to hair school. The world is so big now, especially in our
Yeah.
industry. It's $1 billion industry. So if you don't want to start an e-commerce store, look at an affiliate marketing program. And then if you do want to do an e-commerce store, move enough product where you can start your own brand and then you start selling product. So that's my end game. My end game is to come out with a product line.
Wow.
So,
That's
but I
very
won't,
cool.
yeah, I won't do that until like I have a certain threshold of sales per month plus income per month. And then my whole goal is to flip the whole script that brands are doing on salons and make it truly advantageous for the salons. So now make each brand, each salon, like really reap the benefits because we get screwed as a salon and so do distributors too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Sephora's, Amazon. I don't mind Sephora and Ulta. Like a lot of people hate when brands go there.
Hmm.
They just did it on a bigger scale. Sephora is not a hair salon. So for any of these brands who want to talk about being professional use only, well, you're lying to everyone because
Yep.
Amazon's not a hair salon either.
Yep.
I'm going to bring it back and take some of that power back for the salons because Olaplex selling a QVC is just slap in the face of every salon. And it may be
Hmm.
a great product, but you having your own store is another avenue, e-commerce wise, I'm talking about. It's just another avenue for you to make a little extra money per month or provide an extra service to your existing clientele in the salon. So I was checking you out. I'm like, hey, Cindy, like you used the Shibui moisturizing shampoo and conditioner. How did you like it? Oh, it was great. I'm almost out. If you want, I'll give you 15%, off, and we do a reoccurring shipment to you. Every 6 weeks it's been? Let's push it to 7, so you're right in the middle. Sure, no problem. Now, every 7 weeks, you're sending out a product to a client. Now, when you go to sell your salon, you have a real business. Like if you
Very
try and
cool.
sell a salon traditionally, they look at your business without you in it, and it's worth nothing. You're worth the chairs, some products, and that's it. But if you
Yeah.
have, 20,000 a month of recurring revenue from product sales, another 20 from a blowout package, another 20 from a single process package, now you have like 80,000 recurring revenue a month coming into your salon. That's worth something. That's a business. Plus your email
Yeah.
marketing, plus your social media. Like you guys, like get out of your own way. Start taking business classes. Start learning this stuff. It's so
Exactly.
crazy. And these girls are so smart, like girls and guys. I say girls,
Yeah.
and that's majority of the business, but you girls are brilliant. You guys run a whole household. You figure everything out. You have a podcast right now. You have a salon team. You're doing a million different things way better than I ever could. You're way smarter than I am. There's no reason why you can't be doing this stuff. And so that's what I like to teach, because I love when I see like just like, this is my thing. I used to bartend years ago, and there was a single mom I used to bartend with, and she crushed it. She worked the bartending job, went to school full time, worked night. She was a mom. I was so impressed by how she handled everything. I was like, that's a superpower. Like, especially single moms out there who are struggling doing hair, you don't have to struggle. Like, there's another
Right.
way. And they have that ability without trading their time for money. Hope that wasn't too much of a rant, but I'm
No, not
passionate.
at all. I'm loving all of this, Nick. Like, this is so much value. I'm sure you guys are probably just like, I'm sure you're working through this process. I mean, Nick, the whole reason why I even started doing this to begin with, honestly, is because I was that struggling single mom for a very long time. And I was like, I'm not going to rely on someone else to take care of me. That is like
Good.
that mentality, it doesn't work. Like you
It
have to take
doesn't.
responsibility for yourself. And it feels so good when you're able to take care of yourself and you can feed the mouths of other people, and there's no limit. But I think the problem is that when your risk tolerance becomes smaller and smaller, your mindset remains small, and you're just going to get what you've been used to getting.
Exactly.
So getting out of your own way, absolutely. And be okay with failing fast. Like, just try, do it, take the next step. So Nick, I want to have you back on if that's okay. Like, I really
Yeah,
want to talk with you
100%.
more about
Yeah.
this e-com setup, because
Yeah.
this is still something it's not new at all, but it's completely new to our industry. There's not enough people that are dipping into it. And when you're talking about dipping, you're thinking about brands who are doing the double dip, and they're servicing both people, but we
Yeah.
don't have the rights to do it. That's not true. It's just not true. We've been fed a
Yeah.
lie as far as brand orientation goes. So we need to be able to take that into our own hands. So absolutely, like, everything you've said is so spot on. And I'm just like
Yeah.
obsessed with everything you're doing right now.
I like what you
So
just said about risk and a fixed mindset. Like your appetite, my appetite for risk is gigantic.
I
Like
can tell.
I went 300,000 into the hole my first year trying to sell online. I had a
Oh my
wedding I was
gosh.
planning, buying a house, sent it, credit card debt, life savings. I don't give a shit. I'll make it again. So guys,
Yeah.
I think people compare their self-worth to their level of success, like on like whether they did it or not. No, took a shot at it. That's
Right.
celebrate. Everyone attempts it. It's a matter of the fact that you have to increase your appetite for risk, because it's only within that risk is when you really find success. It's really hard to have
And
that
it's
fixed mindset.
and you're speaking to it right now. Like, you are talking about something that you're doing that is working, but how many things did you do that didn't work? And so I think it's really important that those of you guys who are listening to this just understand that maybe we have a slightly higher risk tolerance and you're not quite there yet, but you just have to make the decision and take the leap and do the thing that you wanted to do. It might not look exactly the way you envisioned, and you may actually learn more things along the way, but the fact that you're doing it, it sets you up for better success than just living in a place. Because I can say this right now, like, when I, like, even 15 years ago, I was the one who broke the record in the salon. I hit 300,000 in sales, and I was like,
A
oh, I'm
girl.
crushing it. No, I felt like, okay, this is amazing. I can't do any better than this. The problem is that I created a prison for myself because I was running 3 chairs. I had 5 assistants, and I'm like, what life is this? So you have to trade out some things. And the trade
Yeah.
out for me is I was willing to take less money if that meant that I could grow in other ways. So you guys have to make the decision for yourself, but I want to make sure that you're doing it because you are creating freedom for yourself. And that is what this whole thing is about. This whole game is creating freedom for yourself. So this inspired me in so many ways, just listening to the way that you're running business. I think this is like, I love that you're disrupting in this way. And I really want to learn more about this. And so
Yeah.
I will obviously add your information in the show notes. I know that you've got a website there that we can drop in so everyone can listen in, or everyone can learn more about what you offer, because it sounds like you have a membership that you can offer more.
Yeah.
And then I would like to have you back on so we can talk about the logistics of your e-com business and how you've been able to blow that up. That's absolutely fascinating to me. And I want to continue to encourage you guys just to dream big, set goals, and take action. We'll see you guys next week.